This is a podcast by the Business Times, presented by UOB.
Project Orchid? No, it's not a new hybrid flower, nor are we talking about horticulture. This is the future of finance after all. It's digital currency. Project Orchid is the Monetary Authority of Singapore's endeavour to look into the feasibility of the digital Singapore dollar. And how will central bank digital currencies affect your business and you really? For more insights, we speak to Janet Young, Managing Director and Head, Group Channels and Digitalisation, Strategic Communications and Brand at UOB. Welcome to the Business Times Future of Finance podcast. Janet, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, good morning, Howie.
Good to have you with us. So in mid-November, though, we hear the IMF, the International Monetary Fund's Managing Director, has urged the public sector to keep preparing to deploy CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, allowing central banks to channel government payments directly to households and related payment platforms in the future. So tell us more about Project Orchid, which is MAS's endeavor to look into the feasibility of the digital Singapore dollar and how UOB is involved.
Thank you, Howie. Not sure how many people have heard, but Project Orchid is part of MAS's vision to build an innovative, interoperable, and inclusive open source digital currency. It is an infrastructure for Singapore that is laid for the future of finance. Rather than building a retail central bank digital currency or CBDC, the initiative has taken a user-driven approach. In other words, we look at it from the user perspective. So whether you are an individual or you're a business, to focus on what we call purpose-bound money. The purpose-bound money, PBM, is an important element in the future of digital money because it enables money to be directed towards a specific purpose without requiring the money itself to be programmed. This opens up opportunities for innovation and value creation. So think about it as having a wrapper around your money, and when the conditions are met, the wrapper, and we call it, the envelope, can be then unwrapped, releasing, the value, which is the money sitting inside. So this is the neat part of what we call purpose-bound money.
Central bank digital currencies, Janet, CBDCs, have the potential to replace cash, right? But adoption could take time. How has UOB's journey with Project Orchid been so far?
Actually, the Project Orchid journey for us has been very exciting, but it has taken a while. I mean, with all things being innovative and experimental, you do have to, let some of these iterations run its course. So we've been a partner with MAS in Project Orchid and working very closely with the other ecosystem players since the beginning of 2022. But Project Orchid in itself actually came from Project Rubin, an earlier project that MAS tested on blockchain applications, and that dates back several years back. So if you think of it, the genesis is Project Orchid has evolved from research and white papers into numerous pilots and trials. We will start seeing Orchid schemes going live and commercial in the next phase of supporting Singapore's vision for the future of finance. And we're excited because UOB is currently working on 3 use cases around purpose-bound money. Firstly, the Singapore Pit Stop Pack. This was at the height of our F1 event in September 2023. This focuses on programmable rewards for inbound tourists. So the tourists get, and in fact, local Singaporeans too who took part in F1 and took the Pit Stop Pack were able to get greater value for what they paid for. So that's the rewards that, they can unlock. Secondly, the Skills Future Singapore PBM prototype, where we are exploring how government disbursements for e-learning could be improved for overseas training providers. And this is actually with Skills Future Singapore SSG. And thirdly, finally, the fungibility trial for digital Sing dollar, which focuses on the fungibility of digital Sing dollar and interbank settlement using wholesale CBDC. Now, that's probably more wholesale in nature and between banks to banks or businesses to businesses. So the third one is more wholesale. The first two are retail.
Let's talk a bit about the fungibility trial. Thanks for bringing it up. How encouraging have the results been so far? It's wholesale, you say?
It is. And over here, maybe for the ones who are not as familiar with banking and settlement of money, perhaps, let me elaborate a little bit more. Until now, in Orchid pilots, local banks have been issuing their own digital Sing dollar. So you imagine, so UOB issuing our digital Sing dollar, which I will refer to as tokens, because these are representations, in the digital form. The only way these tokens can be exchanged for fiat currency, which is our daily, paper money, or you can think of our daily usage of payment, it is by going back to the same issuing bank. Okay, so the only way the tokens can be exchanged for fiat currency is going back. So what does it mean? It means that if UOB issues a digital Sing dollar, then you need to come back to me to convert it into paper money, your Sing dollar, before you can spend it. Now, in this fungibility trial, what we're trying to address is to showcase that UOB issued tokens are fungible with other banks' tokens. This will create greater value. So, for example, merchants can exchange another bank's token for fiat with UOB. UOB will then return the token to the issuing bank for settlement. This is where wholesale CBDC comes into play as an innovative, near real-time blockchain solution for settlement between the banks. So you think about it, it means that when you take a digital Sing dollar from UOB with a token, you go to a merchant and spend it. The merchant can be banking with another bank, another Singapore bank, and that Singapore bank is able to receive and take my token for good and give value to you and pay the merchant for the merchandise that you've purchased. And this is where what we call fungibility comes into play. And because it's on blockchain technology, it is near real time.
And transparent too.
Absolutely.
Still to come, how will CBDCs support the future of money, and what does this mean for you and your business? More with Janet Young from UOB in a moment.
This episode of Future of Finance is presented by UOB. And now, back to our podcast.
Janet, we talked about the project Orchid from MAS. How do you see the tech stack evolving for Orchid pilots, though? Briefly introduce Orchid pilots to us as well.
We strongly believe that end user experience will remain very important. In this case, end users should be able to use the purpose-bound money, PBM, as easily as they use digital money today. Now, this is where it gets a little bit technical, right? About the technology evolving in this space. The key thing over here is wallet infrastructure will be the key. The industry will need to come together and agree on an appropriate wallet solution for end users to make sure that their digital assets are kept safe. Because today, if you think of it, you keep your Sing dollar bill in your actual physical wallet. Now, because this is digital Sing dollar, it is in token form, then you need to keep it in a digital wallet. So that's the reason why wallet infrastructure will be key, because we will need to be able to interoperate and to ensure that, the different parties to it can access with the right security access and protocols. And that's really the quick and fast evolving technology in this space. I want to elaborate that blockchain-based systems can't operate in isolation, and therefore it will need to be integrated and be part of the banking system. Because you see, I kept mentioning digital Sing dollar and fiat, right? Because there is a need still today to be able to interoperate between the two different systems in order to scale and commercialize. It is not one or the other. It is likely to be a combination of both. These are the areas where I see new technology patterns evolving.
And of course, going back to needing to keep it safe, because just like the physical wallet, you want to prevent people from picking our pockets, stealing our money. So obviously, keeping it safe is high priority.
Absolutely, absolutely. We all now know, right? Because otherwise there are scammers and all the fraudsters around. So it is quite important. The good thing is that for blockchain technology, you can't hide because every single item is then recognized and seen on the block. So this is the part around, the transparency of it and traceability.
Let's take a bigger picture approach then. How can wholesale CBDC, though, support the future of money, Janet?
Yeah, so here is where, for us in the trade, in banking and finance, we believe that wholesale CBDCs are essentially digital tokens of national currencies issued by the central bank. So think of it, the MAS, Bank Negara, Bank of Thailand, in this region, they can actually issue central bank digital currencies. And the issuance of a wholesale CBDC is pivotal to achieving the singleness of money. What do we mean? It lays the fundamental baseline for interbank settlement and fungibility of digital money in Singapore and potentially cross-border. As a leading Singapore bank, UOB is supportive of wholesale CBDC because we regard this as the foundation and the bedrock for digital currencies and payments in the blockchain ecosystem, and that can start from Singapore and travel worldwide across multiple regions and multiple continents and central bank systems.
Pardon me for being selfish. I always have to ask, what is in it for me? Or what's going to happen to me and how I do things. So how do you envision the future of wholesale CBDC, Janet? What's it mean for consumers?
Actually, you need to think through a couple of steps. So if you think of it, if central banks do issue wholesale CBDC, then for us banks, commercial banks, UOB is a commercial bank, we will each have to have a wholesale CBDC wallet. And with this, as banks, we are intermediary, we'll be able to offer our customers, so in this case, both individuals and businesses. So these individuals and businesses can hold and transact with bank-issued digital Sing dollar domestically. And in turn, we can actually settle our respective obligations bank to bank using wholesale CBDC held with MAS. This will open up the use of digital Sing dollar to an interbank and industry-wide scale. And this is strong because if you look at the technical term, it's called atomic settlement. It means that whenever I say I'll pay you, you will receive it at that point. So if you think of goods and services, whenever I want to be able to settle and I pay you, not only do I click the button and pay, the bank behind it actually exchange the value almost instantaneously on the blockchain, thereby achieving what we call delivery against payment. And this is probably the most powerful because then it assures the party who is paying the receipt of the good or service that him or her has been promised. And if I think of it, that's the reason why for us at UOB, we really are proud to showcase this digital Sing dollar fungibility trial during the Singapore FinTech Festival 2023. It is also worthwhile to note that potentially from here, we can upscale and facilitate cross-border payments. And for those of you who know, when you want to pay someone in UK, pay sterling, or you want to pay someone in the US or Australia, there's always this notion that it takes a while to get to your beneficiary. Now, with wholesale CBDC, if everybody adopts on it and then we are all connected via the blockchain, then you can actually achieve near real-time settlement. So whenever you send money, Howie, the next time, whoever is on the other side receives it almost at the same time. Isn't that wonderful? And if many countries who are experimenting wholesale CBDCs, we can actually have this as the building blocks for a more efficient way to make cross-border payments less painless, less cumbersome, more real-time, safer with the use of digital currencies.
Sounds exciting. Janet, thank you so much for sharing your insights today.
Thank you, Howie. I hope that, our trials will go into commercialization soon in 2024 and that you'll be among one of those who will use CBDCs in your payment.
Looking forward to it. We've been speaking to Janet Young, Managing Director and Head Group Channels and Digitalization, Strategic Communications and Brand at UOB. I'm Howie Lim. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to sharing more in the next episode as you navigate the future of finance.
This episode of Future of Finance was presented by UOB. Find more BT podcasts at businesstimes.com.sg/podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. This podcast is meant to provide general information only. SPH Media accepts no liability for loss arising from any reliance on the podcast or use of third parties' products and services. Please consult professional advisors for independent advice.